Hi, my name is Alex Downey-Ging. I am the Membership Manager for Quidditch Canada, and this video is on fundraising and team finances. Just a disclaimer, I am not a professional grant writer. This is just based on my own experience as a co-captain of a Quidditch team, and hopefully these are some tips to help you with managing fundraising and finances for your own team. I want to start with some bad ideas. So if you are trying to raise money, these are some things that I really don't suggest doing. First is using images or licenses that you do not have permission to. So if you are not officially recognized by your school as a sports team, you probably don't have the permission to use the school logo on your merchandise. So make sure you're not causing issues by using images that you do not own. Same with Warner Brothers and Harry Potter. You likely do not have a license to use their images or their logos or their music, so just don't use that. Second, selling something with low or no margins. So some teams will do bake sales, and if this works for you, I recommend keep doing it, but for a lot of teams, if you don't know what you're doing, a bake sale is actually a really bad idea. So I'll just go over quickly a couple reasons why. First, the actual product that you're selling, baked goods, is a perishable item. It is not something that you can save in a locker to sell next week or next month if you don't sell them all right away. Your volunteers are likely to snack on them, and even before that, when you're creating it, it's easy to burn or drop them before they even get to your booth to sell. In addition, I see a lot of teams actually just buying pre-made items at stores or buying these expensive cake making kits, which are very fun to make and very pretty and come with icing and toppings and all sorts of things. But the amount that you're spending on these kits versus what you're selling them for, you're not making enough money to actually make it worth it. So if you are trying to hit a fundraising goal and you have to make a certain amount of money, the value that you are making per cupcake or cookie sold is so low that you're actually just burning out your volunteers who volunteered to help run your bake sale. And then at the end of that, your volunteers feel that they've donated a lot of time and they've done their part in raising money for your team, and you've gotten nowhere near reaching your financial goal. So if bake sales have worked for you, I'm not going to try and discourage you, but if this is something you have not done before, I recommend looking at something else. Last is not having more than one person accountable for finances. So unfortunately, we did have a team in Canada where the leadership of the team did mismanage their finances. The school associated with the team found out about this, and in an effort to try and sort things out, they seized the team's equipment because it was stored on campus. So the school held the hoops in hopes that this would force the leadership of the team to sort things out. The leadership of the team unfortunately was graduating soon, they didn't care and they moved on, and the school got rid of their hoops. So there's now no Quidditch team at that school, and anyone who tries to start a new team is going to face a negative reputation in trying to get that started. So I know your focus is on playing Quidditch, and you might think, I'm not really a finance person, I don't really want to deal with this, but just keep an eye on your finances, have more than one person accountable for it, as it can be the demise of your team. Places to look for funding. The first and most obvious is a membership fee. A lot of teams charge a membership fee just to practice with their team. Others don't charge a team fee to practice, but you do have to pay a fee to join the team and go to tournaments. It's up to you. This likely covers your Quidditch Canada membership, which covers your insurance and use of Top Score for managing your roster and events, but you can add in fees for a t-shirt they get. Maybe you're anticipating some expenses like replacing hoops. You can bundle all of that into this fee. Another suggestion is hosting an event. So this is not a Quidditch tournament, but hosting an event like a dodgeball tournament or a games night, like a board games night. You charge a fee to come in, and then once people are in, it doesn't cost them anything, but the door entrance is the fundraising amount. So we did a dodgeball tournament. We offered two pricing options. One was to form your own dodgeball team and you pay a fee. The other option was to sign up as an individual and we would place you on a team. We found that we actually had more people signing up for the individual portion, so that was kind of an indicator that there are people who want to be active on campus who don't have friends who are active, or they are new students and they're still looking to make friends on campus. So this might also be an opportunity for recruiting people, but it can be a low commitment event for people to sign up and play a one-time event and raise money for your team. Kidditch parties. There's a lot of kids parties where parents are looking for help in teaching kids Quidditch for a birthday party. So I'd recommend putting this on your social media or website, or let Quidditch Canada know if this is something that you are interested in doing. Some people will hire a team or a couple people to come and teach kids how to play Quidditch for an hour or two to celebrate their birthday. Referrals. There are some websites where if people purchase gift card links through your link, you will get a small percentage of the purchase. So this is often promoted around Christmas, where people are buying gifts for their family and friends. Another option is jersey referrals. So if you already buy equipment or jerseys from a company, they might be willing to give you a referral bonus or a discount on your next order for helping refer new business to them. The other option is selling something. So this could be t-shirts, stickers, water bottles, some actual tangible merchandise that you can sell on campus or at a local event or through an online platform. If you are selling something like a sticker, make sure it's probably waterproof, or that it's a size that they can stick it on a water bottle, a laptop, maybe a notebook. It has a lot of uses, and it maybe has some sort of catchy graphics or something associated with their school or something that they already care about, that they're interested in buying that and supporting your team. It's something that they want to have around. Anytime you're selling something, I really recommend having an option for a donation. So if you have a table and you're selling your team t-shirts, maybe put a jar out that says donation, and that way they can drop their change in there, or maybe they'll just donate money without purchasing anything because they care. I'd also recommend, if you have a booth, make sure it's clear that you are actually fundraising money. So you're not just asking for money, you're saying help us get to nationals or help us buy new hoops. So it's kind of a conversation starter, and it gives a purpose for why they're actually supporting you. Online request for donation. Facebook will actually allow you to just ask your followers for donations. I recommend, if you do this, pair it with a social media campaign. So maybe you're actually putting out entertaining content or informative content about your team, giving a reason for why people care about your team and why they want to donate money. There's other sites like Indiegogo and Kickstarter, which you can put a project on there, and then people can get different rewards depending on how much they donate. So the difference, Kickstarter, I think if you don't reach your goal, you don't get any of the money, whereas Indiegogo, you get the money even if you don't reach your goal. But you might say at $5, we will tweet a thank you on our Twitter account, and at $30, you'll get a t-shirt, and so on. So with these, you want to break down what you are asking money for. Putting a video and lots of pictures gives you a better chance of people caring, and find out what the fee the site charges, because you will need to factor that into your budget. You can sell perks, or you can just ask for donations. So just asking for donations, you have a good story. Maybe it's not just a sob story, but you're telling people who your team is and why reaching their financial goal will make a difference. Selling perks, you're giving them something, so either online or an actual tangible product that you will mail them when the campaign is over. If you promise something to people, make sure you follow through and give supporters a timeline. So if you don't intend to start shipping out t-shirts or something until after regionals, put that in the thing so that people don't make the purchase and expect next week, gosh, why haven't I heard from this Quidditch team again? This can also really annoy people, so make sure you're clear about it, and so that you're not sabotaging your team next year or in future years when they try to run this campaign again. And I would really recommend you indicate what happens if you don't reach your financial goal. So if your goal is to make $5,000 to get your team to nationals, and you only make $2,000, will your team still be going to nationals? If so, I would put in it, if we reach this amount, we can only send 8 people. If we reach our full $5,000 goal, we can send 21 people. So people understand how their money will actually help. If not, if your plan is that if you don't reach the full amount, you'll refund the money, or you'll donate it to another Quidditch team, or you'll hang on to it for next season's nationals, I would put that in there so people don't feel that you are misusing their funds if that was what you planned to do the whole time. Asking for donations through your university or alumni association. I saw the Guelph team did this, and I think it's a really great idea. So all universities have an alumni page usually where they can request donations, and Guelph had the option for you could donate it and specify which team your donation is for. So this is great because one, the school might have a wider reach of people that they can reach out to ask for donations. But two, people might be more willing to donate or donate larger amounts because they can get a tax refund for these kinds of donations. Sponsorship. Reach out to businesses for donations. So these are places in your community, places that your players already has a contact at. You have a better chance of getting a meeting and pitching than someone who knows nothing about you. I still recommend reaching out to them, but you have a better chance if you already have a connection with that company. Now, this video is being made around COVID-19, so a lot of companies are hurting and they've had to lay people off. So you might not necessarily be able to just get a straight up cash donation for someone. If you talk to them and understand what their needs are, you have a better chance of proposing something that they are interested in. So maybe they have no budget this year for donations, but they still have a marketing budget. So you could propose putting their logo on your team jersey or renaming your Quidditch tournament to something that includes their brand name, or including banners and promotional things at your event to promote their company. So a lot of businesses may be looking for ways to introduce themselves to students or people in the community. And so if you just talk to them and understand what their goals are, you might not necessarily get a cash donation, but you might get something donated or a partnership agreement that does benefit both parties. So like I said earlier, if you're having an event like, let's say, that dodgeball tournament, you could ask a company to donate something to put in a gift basket to the winning team, or samples to give out to people as they're leaving. Something like that, that both sides are seeing as positive. You're not getting a cash donation from them, but you're getting something that enhances your event. And finally, if they donate to you, remember that and support those businesses. So if you always have a Christmas party or a year-end party and a restaurant supported you get to nationals, maybe have your event with them to show thanks. Grants. So if you are a student group, there's a lot more grants probably available to you than community teams. So through the schools, the student union often offers a grant, course unions can offer a grant, community centers and churches may offer grants. The chair of your department might actually have some funding that they have available to individual students to help them participate in events in their community or to go to represent their school on a national level. Not all of these are always promoted or publicly advertised. You kind of have to just talk to people and email people and have your elevator pitch and say, you know, I'm trying to get to nationals, my team is doing this. Is there any opportunities to support me or to support my team? And that's when you hear about these things. So with grants, often they require a written proposal with receipts submitted to be reimbursed. So this is an important note because if your players don't have money to front these costs, if the expectation is that they will be reimbursed a month or two after the event, that might be a problem. They might still not be able to afford that. Make sure you understand those and then you can plan accordingly to make sure that no one falls through the cracks. They might need to see your past year's finances and want proof that the team is working to cover remaining costs. So if you were asking someone for $1,000, they might think, oh my gosh, $1,000 is a lot of money. But if you say, actually, to get to nationals, it's costing my team $6,000. Here's how we are covering the other $5,000. Can you help us by covering $1,000? Then teams don't feel like you're just asking for a handout. They can see that your players are already working really hard to get there and they're happier to contribute to help you. May only be interested in funding certain topics. So you might need to frame your proposal to show how you're meeting their objectives. So your school or your community might have a fund for supporting female athletes or supporting leaders in your community or supporting events that help reduce depression on campus. Whatever the goal is, if you understand what projects they're more interested in funding, you can angle your grant proposal to show how you're actually going to meet those requirements. Like I said, not all are publicly posted. So go to your student union, go meet with your athletic department, go meet with people and ask what is available, what can you apply for. Maybe it hasn't been posted yet, but they remember last year something came up and it was very quick. It's not advertised for long, so when the posting is available, you're ready to react quickly enough. Last year I've posted Grant Connect. This is a website that you actually have to pay for a membership, so it likely does not make sense for you to pay for that, but some universities and libraries will have a membership. So I found the Toronto Public Library does have access to Grant Connect. This shows a lot of nonprofits and places that are donating money to nonprofits or small groups. So if you have a program, so this is more like a youth Quidditch league or a Quidditch tournament, and you think that there's a grant available, but it's only available to nonprofits, Quidditch Canada is a registered nonprofit. You can reach out to me. I would be happy to review your application, and I'm not promising to attach my name or Quidditch Canada's to it, but I'd be happy to look it over, and maybe this is something that we could partner with to apply for a grant to help you meet your goals. So I'm going to go over a sample grant that I had applied for and successfully gotten when I was a co-captain. So at Ryerson, this was PFAX. For anyone who's currently at Ryerson, they have since renamed it to the Student Initiative Fund, so SIF for short. But this is kind of an example of what I went through and what you may expect at any school if you're applying for a grant. So Ryerson had an issue. We had these hoops. They were wooden and we used them for many years for practices, but they got to the point where pretty much every time you tried to score a goal in them, they would fall apart. So we always had a screwdriver at the side of the field to fix them in the middle of the game, and we knew that we wanted to replace these hoops. We had our eye on a company in the States that made them, and we were also interested in organizing a tournament, but there wasn't really much field space on campus. So we got the idea to apply for a grant to organize a Quidditch tournament. So we'd have to rent a field somewhere else, but also this would allow us to purchase the equipment, which we would then use at our practices the rest of the year. So I started working on this application in December. I submitted it in June, and then when we received the grant, the event actually ended up taking place in November. So that's almost a year timeline. I point this out because you are never planning too early with these kinds of things, and if I had just thought about it this September and wanted to host a tournament a couple months later, it would have been too late to apply for this kind of grant and support. So plan in advance. Another part of this grant, I had to have a staff member sign off on the application to even be considered. So in being a co-captain for a team, I had several meetings with the clubs and athletics, and we had never gotten official team status. We were not getting funding, but in those meetings I was able to get storage for our equipment, and through that contact I was able to then reach out to athletics, who I already knew from trying to get storage space, to ask them to sign off on this. So they were happy to sign off because it didn't cost them any money, and they were supporting me, and they already knew me and that I was trying to get Quidditch to be a thing. After the written application and budget, the next round is in-person presentation. So once we passed the first round, the second round was myself and my co-captain went in person to do a quick presentation, go over the budget, and answer questions in person. So if you go to a in-person presentation or meeting with someone, you really need to know your numbers and answers. Be ready for questions. So even if you feel that your presentation contains all the information, they might ask for more reasoning, or why don't you try this alternative instead? So just be ready to answer those questions. We found out then that our request was approved, which was very exciting, and we needed to make the tournament happen. So this grant came from the university. It did not come from a student union or anything like that. And something I found out later was that there was another sports team that had put in a grant request for their tournament, and our application looked better for a couple of reasons. One, this other sports tournament, almost all of their budget was going to renting indoor turf fields, which was very expensive. And compared to ours, we were using a $200 City of Toronto field permit for a soccer field. So that was a lot cheaper, and then the money we were putting into getting equipment like hoops and balls, we had emphasized in the application that it was not just going to be used for this one tournament, it was going to be used year-round at our practice, which was open to all Ryerson students. So that made it seem like, which it was, but it gave the impression that we were going to have a more of a lasting impact if we got the grant than the other team. So make sure you put things like that in it, so it's not just a one-time thing and then all the money is gone. So after the event, submitted all receipts and a written summary and images. So they wanted to see an actual expenses versus our budget, who attended. We had 9 teams attend, so I was writing about other universities that attended and how our school looked in that regard, and then the impact on volunteers and attending students. So I include this screenshot from our application just to break down what we presented. And you can see this is old because it includes the International Quidditch Association. At that time, to organize Quidditch tournaments, you reported directly to the International Quidditch Association. We didn't have Quidditch Canada. But I think this is kind of similar to what you could create now if you want to copy any of this for your own application. I want to emphasize we highlighted our goals to host a tournament, to buy equipment, and develop leadership skills. And then I mentioned the International Quidditch Association and that they provide the rule book and the certification of referees, because this helps explain to people who probably don't know what Quidditch is that this is a real sport and that it's played competitively, and gives them an idea that this is not just some students getting together for a weekend to be silly. This is actually something that we are involved in. So if you have to go and do a meeting, or if you have to present something like this in front of people, these are some questions you might get. How many students are involved in coordinating the project? We put down 4. It was actually myself and my co-captain writing the application, but we did have 2 others that we could bounce ideas off of and who had committed to helping the day of the tournament run things. What programs are they in, and what are the roles of the project? So you can kind of make up any positions for these, meet what your volunteers skills are, but also what they are interested in putting on their resume. And then how will this project enhance the quality of student life? So these are what we focused on, but you might want to focus on different talking points to promote why you deserve the grant. So separate from that, for your team, I'd recommend actually having a spreadsheet like a Google Drive file, something that you can share with a lot of people, and you should track all your finances, who's paid membership, what expenses you've paid for, and what you are expecting to get. I like to include a debit, a credit, and notes and information. So debit is money going out, credits is money coming in, and then the notes helps if someone's looking at this 6 months or a year or 2 years down the line, making sense of what they are seeing. So this first line here, you can see someone spent $39 at Walmart buying some balls, and it indicates that this person was already paid back and when. So I think that's important, because if you get disputes later on, or there's some confusion of where did the money go, you can trace backwards who's been paid, who's still waiting, and what's going on there. I'd really recommend having a monthly or quarterly update to your team's execs. So if you just have a finance person managing this sheet themselves, make sure that they are regularly reporting to someone else, even if it is just to restate the same information as last time. So you could have quarterly at a practice, just show up half hour before practice and have them go over, we have $150, it's held in cash by this person, and we're anticipating in the next 2 months that this expense is going to come up. Just make sure that someone's used to reporting to people, and that if someone is expecting to get refunded or funding for something, that they understand what the process is to get reimbursed. So if I decide that we really need more dodgeballs, can I just go to the store and buy some, or does that have to be voted on? If I go and buy those dodgeballs, do I have to show this to someone before I can be reimbursed, or am I allowed to just take it from your account or transfer the money to myself? You also might need your athletics department to sign off on this, depending on if you have official team recognition and your school recognizes you as a team. Margins, I'm not going to do a big business lesson here, but when you are creating merchandise and selling it to people, you want to look at your revenue minus your expenses, so this is your profit. So this should give you an idea of how many of this item do you need to sell to meet your financial goal. Even before you have your fundraising event or you try to sell merchandise, you should have an idea of how much money you make per item and how many of those items you need to sell to hit your financial goal. So before you even have the event, you might realize you physically do not have enough t-shirts to sell to reach your goal. It's just too high. So you need to come up with more merchandise, or you need to come up with a more reasonable financial goal. Something else I'd like to point out is minimizing your expenses. A lot of people focus on fundraising, and I think it is worth taking the time to see if you can minimize any of your existing expenses. So if you have a team, I do recommend having social events. I think it's a great way for your team to bond and get close and rely on your team. But if every social event is going out for drinks or a restaurant, that's a financial drain on your players and might be excluding people. If you expect them to be going to nationals at the end of the season, but all year you guys have been going out for drinks, that might not add up for them, and at the end of the season they're not going to have money for traveling. Similarly, if you have a different event, so let's say you guys stay in and you each bring in 49-cent ramen noodle packs, put in a cup with hot water and do a rulebook study session, or a YouTube night and you watch old gameplay footage to prepare for upcoming tournaments. That's going to save you money, and it might even be something where each player could put in the $15 that they were going to spend on a burger and a drink to help your team internally raise money for financial goals. So if you can minimize the amount of money that they're spending or use that as a chance for them to force savings, that can help put you in a better situation for expenses coming up. Can you get a student or amateur athlete discount? I've found when ordering t-shirts and stickers and things like that, oftentimes if you talk to the company beforehand and you agree to show a student ID when you pick up the order, or if you make the order with your school email address, you can get a discount that way. Can you buy or trade for secondhand equipment? So there is a popular app in Toronto called Buns where you don't buy anything, you actually just trade items you have for items that other people have, and this can be a great way to get things without spending money. So an example of this, I work with the convention coordinator and we do a lot of events throughout the year at conventions and festivals promoting Quidditch, and we thought it would be really nice to have a digital photo frame to show images of Quidditch and what real Quidditch looks like at a booth. But those digital photo frames are actually kind of pricey and we didn't have a budget for buying that. So I created a notification on Buns and I posted some pictures of things that I had that I didn't need anymore. And sure enough, someone posted a digital photo frame and I was able to get it without spending any money. Similarly, Kijiji and Facebook. So Kijiji, you can buy things secondhand, and Facebook has a marketplace. There are some community groups. I find the more niche, smaller community groups are better than the bigger ones because the bigger ones get spammed. But if you keep an eye on things like this, after a couple weeks or months, you might find what you need for a low price or free. Oftentimes I've seen on Facebook community groups, parents will be emptying their garages and they'll say everything's free, it just has to be gone by the end of the day or it's on the curb. And I've seen people put baskets or boxes full of volleyballs or dodgeballs that they're just trying to get rid of. So they're used and they might have a picture of Paw Patrol on the side, but that might be a way for your team to get some extra dodgeballs or volleyballs for free or almost next to nothing. Can you get the same product at a better rate with small changes? So if one of your financial goals is renting an inside turf field for a practice or a tournament, if you talk to the venue, oftentimes they will tell you that if you book at a different time of year or a different time of the day, you can get a cheaper rate. So your team might be willing to practice at 9 p.m. if it will save them money. Similarly, if you're printing merchandise, a lot of times if you order in larger quantities, you can get a cheaper per unit price. And if you make some slight modifications, you might be able to save a lot of money. So t-shirt printing, oftentimes printing on the front and the back is more expensive than just printing on the front. And printing only one color is often cheaper than printing in full color. So talk to them, maybe get a couple quotes before you decide on what you're ordering. Can you split expenses with another team? So again, if you have to book an indoor field for a winter practice, maybe partner with another team in the area and hold a joint practice and split the expenses that way. If you have a tournament that you're going to out of province, you might be able to share renting a bus with another team or two, and then that can save you money to get you to the tournament. So we did this with 3 teams on a bus, and we were able to split the costs. It got really cheap to get us to a tournament outside of the province. So goals to promote in requesting for funding. I always recommend, if you are asking for fundraising online or in person, don't just say like buy our t-shirts or donate to our team. Tell the story. So help us get to nationals. Help us replace our hoops. It creates a conversation topic, but it also gives the people a reason to actually buy your product and support your team. So I hope this has been helpful. Don't get discouraged. You'll probably get a lot of rejection if you're approaching companies asking for donations or trying to get people to buy your merchandise. Just practice and learn from it. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to help in any way that I can. Thanks.